Ah, the little things do matter. Our life teaches us that important lesson over and over and over again. It's the little things that do matter. And we realize that oftentimes through the gift of hindsight. Oftentimes those little things because they are little, and oftentimes because they are commonplace. You and I can oftentimes miss those little things and the significance that they play in our lives, the significance of them, whether it be positive or negative. Because we know the little things that are not so good add up as well. The little things do matter. It's a common practice and it is a common experience that we all share. To be attentive to the little things requires of you and I a mindset, ears and eyes to be able to recognize, to be able to hear, to be attentive to the little things. So today we are encountering a woman who is a sinner. And Simon is a bit disturbed, and rightfully so. After all, it's his party, it's his dinner, and she wasn't invited. She busted the party. She intruded on this event. So imagine Simon is a bit furious to begin with. And then all of a sudden, she carries on. She's constantly carrying on. She's using her tears to wash the feet. She's constantly kissing Jesus, and she's wiping his feet with her hair. And well then, of course, she takes this alabaster jar, and she breaks it. And she allows this ointment, this perfume, to be poured out over Jesus' feet. She's making a scene, is what she's doing. Does Jesus know who she is? What kind of person she is? That she's a sinner? Does he have any idea that all of those little things that this woman did, why they've mattered and they've added up so much so that why it's public knowledge? At least with Simon it is. That she's a sinner. But it's the little things that matter. The little things like an alabaster jar that's broken so that its contents might flow out. And that, my friends, is the mirror. It's the beauty of this gospel story. And it's a long story, so you and I might have missed that little thing. That little gesture that this woman does. She takes this alabaster jar and she breaks it and she allows its contents to flow out. And in so doing, it becomes a mirror, a reflection, if you will, for Simon and for you and I to look into. Because you see, Jesus wants us to be attentive, and he wants Simon to realize who Simon is, but most importantly, who Simon could be. It's the truth of you and I as well. We need those little things like alabaster jars that are broken and its contents flowing out so that we can begin to understand who we are and who we might become. Because we, like the woman in today's gospel, we are sinners. And we are those fragile jars who carry all kinds of content, like Simon's content, as well as the Pharisees who are gathered there, why they become closed in on themselves, why they are not willing to allow themselves to recognize that they're fragile, that they're frail, that they too are sinners, and that they too are broken. And of course, they're trying to hold it all together. They try to keep its contents within. But Jesus invites Simon to look into the broken alabaster jar, to see the contents flowing out as a way in which he might begin to discover his life, and a way in which you and I might begin to discover how our life needs to become what we could be if we allow ourselves to be a flowing, loving person. Because when we do that, why then we become people of forgiveness. You see, sin oftentimes loses its significance in our life because it's everywhere. And you know the old saying, what's everywhere is nowhere. In other words, it becomes so commonplace that we don't recognize it. It's just there. We've begun to cope with it, we live with it, and we interact with it. Such is the nature of sin as well. Sin is also known as alienation. Sin is also known as separateness. Sin is also known as being in the frozen state. Hard, lifeless, without feeling or warmth. That's what Simon has become. It's what you and I can become. When we're too busy thinking about the faults and the harms and the things that people have done to us, and as we continue to hold on to the resentments and the bitterness and the anger that we might have towards others who have hurt us or sinned against us. And so, of course, we become that hardened vessel that keeps everything from flowing out, and we keep it all in. And then we encounter somebody like the woman in today's gospel who makes a scene of herself, and in so doing reminds us of who we could be, even as sinners, if we allow ourselves to be attentive to the little thing. You know, allowing and recognizing our brokenness, that we are a fragile jar, and that's okay. Let that jar be broken open so that our love, our forgiveness might flow out. That it might flow out on the feet of those who have done us harm. That it might flow out on the people that have caused us hurt. That very gift of our life and our love might flow out so that the world might come to know who we are called to be. People like our loving God, who welcome the sinner and forgive them, and invite us, like the woman in today's gospel, to go forth those vessels that we are, broken, so that we might flow, that we might love, that we might forgive.